Yes, back to
Throw out
you,
the
Vice
first
Chair
pitch.
Gates. I will throw the first pitch. I'll throw a strike.
Strike. Thank you. We are reconvened for our second part of work session today. Thank you for joining us. Let's move forward on our survey.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you about a project we've been working on for almost a year now. So we're going to introduce, my name is Ann Ober. I'm one of the Assistant County Administrators, and I am joined by
Aster Pitcher. I'm the Research and Evaluation Analyst in the Office of Access and Opportunity.
And Aster's been here how long?
Months.
Months. And has been an utter gift to this and to other projects. I just want to call out how exceptional their work has been in helping us get more attuned to how we talk about data.
Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge this is Aster's first time presenting to your board and first interaction. And I just want to note, I was so impressed with Aster after a meeting yesterday. I actually had to interrupt a meeting they were in to just give huge kudos to the expertise that they've brought to this county. So I look forward to this conversation.
And do we refer to you as Dr. Pitcher?
I mean, if you want to. But Aster is fine.
So we're going to go through, we've had two projects. I'm going to just lay a little bit of foundation before we keep going. So back when you all approved our ARPA projects in July this past year, on there was a community survey and there was an employee engagement survey to see how we were responding after COVID to the changes that we had put into place. This has been a long time goal, I believe, for this board as well as for Tanya Angie to actually hear from our community on sort of those day-to-day functionalities of what we do for government and also for our employee survey. So today we're only talking about our employee survey, but I just wanted to lay a little bit of foundation that we are also, this is going to, when we spend these dollars, decrease our ARPA liability that we have sitting out there. So super excited.
And just clarification, the focus is on the community survey, not the employee.
Yeah, that.
Yep. That one, the external.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's get into it. So you all discussed this long before I arrived in July of 2024. The initial focus of the survey per the scope of work was to guide the county in prioritizing services, to really gauge the effectiveness and the impact of the services portfolio, and also to gather feedback from historically underserved or marginalized community members. As you know, it's an ARPA-funded project, so that's really where it originates.
Can I point out some technical for
Please? Yeah.
This page, I'm on the online version, accessing this work session through the computer here. And when I click on the scope of work, it lets me log in to access. So it must be a shared drive.
Okay.
So I don't know if you were hyperlinked.
We'll update that.
Something, but the other hyperlink works well.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
That one might be not in a publicly available drive, but I can change
It's
that.
clickable,
Yeah,
but it
but it requires like a login.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that can get shifted. Let me make a note of that. So let's talk a little bit about why would we do this? What's the rationale? So really the intention here is to develop a routine and standardized way to assess which services community members deem important, how aware they are of particular services, and then how accessible county services are to people. There have been some similar projects that have occurred within municipalities within the county, in Tigard and in Hillsborough. And then ICMA also gathers data on a bunch of similar topics and has some data sources that can be used.
And we actually say Milwaukee up here, but Tigard is the one that we'll add a link to so that the community can also see another Washington County community that does this.
So the project is actually a collaboration between the county and DHM Research, which is a firm that's based actually in Washington County. The principal president of that firm is a resident of Washington County and is quite excited to support the project. There's also Michelle Weiss.
Weiss, okay,
Yes,
thank you.
she's lovely.
Yeah.
And very skilled in this work. There is also a link to the survey that will get updated on this particular slide that you can see the most recent draft of the survey, but you should also have a copy of that in your materials. So the survey is actually going to go into the field in the fall of 2025, the time period that we're about to enter, ideally in the month of September, but that's subject to change if there are any issues that we need to discuss. The goal is really to get 800 surveys via phone survey and an online platform. They'll be drawing from both voter rolls and consumer lists to get a wide cross section of the community. It will also be offered in 12 languages, which is, I think, a big push forward for us in our language access work. The Office of Access and Opportunity is going to have some limited community outreach in the 2025 project. And just to give you a preview for 2026, we'll do a little bit more extensive outreach in 2026. So 2025 is a pilot year for community outreach. How does that go? How successful are we? What strategies worked well? And then we'll iterate on that for 2026. So any questions on those parts so far?
Questions? Move forward.
Okay, great. So then I wanted to share a little bit of the timeline. The way I tend to organize projects is that we have like a phase 0, which is really the planning phase of the work. So a bunch of work had already happened, a contract was in place, and then when I came on board, my job was to really get the project sort of marching forward in a different way. And so I spent parts of June and July doing project planning. Then in August, we started to do revisions of the survey and develop the communications plan and planning. September is when we hope the survey would be in community and really implement some of the communication strategies that we've already been engaging in. October is when the firm will spend time with data cleaning and analysis. And November, we would hope that there would be a final analysis and some of the presentations, knowing that that end of the year period can be a little bit of a crunch for folks. But our hope is that we would be able to present data back before the end of the calendar year. And then December and in the months moving forward, final presentation of findings to various groups, as well as developing some of the interventions that the survey results suggest we need to do, right? So the hope is that we've got a full cycle project that not just collects data, but also takes action on the data that we've now collected.
Is that on our rolling agenda?
It isn't at this time, but we can get it forward once we have an understanding.
That makes it some surety.
Yep, we can do that.
Could be helpful for some members.
Great. We will do that. We wanted to confirm with DHM that they actually felt like they could get it done on that timeline before we're like, hey, come see the board.
Down here.
Okay. So there is a slide that's missing out of this version of the PowerPoint that I want to just share with you, which is about our draft outreach plan. So the priority communities that we know we need to reach, so because it's a phone survey and it tends to be landlines that they're calling, we know that that will skew older. We also know that part of who we need to hear from in our county are people under 30. We need to hear from communities of color. We also need to hear from immigrant and refugee communities, as well as our renters. So part of our outreach strategies focus in on those particular groups of people. Some of the strategies that we're going to use for outreach include creating a QR code that we would then have people scan when they come and get a service at the county to try to get a broader section of the community. We'd also be partnering a little bit with schools to try to place something in a newsletter. It's actually timely when we're planning to launch. There'll be a bunch of sort of school activities that ramp up, so we'll try to get parents that way. And then we're also planning on having attendance at 2 in-person street fairs. There's one in Tigard, which is called the Street Fair and Multicultural Fest on September 14th, and then the Inclusion Fall Festival on September 19th in Beaverton. So those 2 felt like really good potential places to reach community members.
What about the libraries?
Libraries would be great as well,
Yep.
and we can do that. I also just want to make sure I point out that there's really 2 surveys in one in this. So one is this phone survey that is statistical in nature that will be driven by the population base that we have here in Washington County. And then there's this written or online version that allows for much more engagement. And that's really the piece where, as we're talking to people at the libraries or other spaces, that they will be engaging, because there's not a way to connect a phone call to an individual. And we want some statistical referencing just to make sure that we have a strong base of where everyone is in the county.
I feel like the second question on the screen, which sort of gets at what you all were just talking about, really, we should lean on our ACRE partners for input on. I think the simple answer to that question oftentimes is you need to go to where the people are. With the methodology you're talking about, that seems problematic. And so I think the input of ACRE is probably the best we can do there.
I would agree with you as co-chair. Both of us sit on ACRE, and I also think that we've started that process with ACRE with the with a presentation on this survey at the last meeting. So that would be the natural next step.
Your board's aware, with items, we typically come to you as a board and get direction from your board and then use boards and commissions such as ACRE to get further input.
But thank you, Jason. Commissioner Snyder.
Other thoughts on the policy question before us? Any questions that you might have about local governments conducting surveys like this one?
I'll jump in. So when I was reading the material, I kept going back to thinking that this is a community needs assessment, but then I think the descriptions and the materials presented isn't. It's sort of addressing accessibility of services, and then that led me to ask a question myself around: are we also? And I even I don't remember. I'll get to the questions that you're asking to the individual, the 800 individuals. But the question then I asked myself is, well, what about underutilization of services? You know, there's accessibility and then there's the utilization of services, and especially if the target population is historically underserved, marginalized communities. I think the utilization would be pretty interesting to this board side of it. I think as an elected officials, I think we're here to ensure that services are utilized. Otherwise, we need to have a conversation about, okay, where are we investing these services? So that's something that I had. And then this community survey, I might be stuck in the language here, so I apologize ahead of time. But what you're really doing is polling, not necessarily a survey. And then, so I think it's different. It's how I see, but usually polling is to test something. Community survey is to find out information. So I don't know, there's a bit of a bridge there for me with the material that presented, but I'm happy to go on this journey and learn more. And during my check-ins, I can have a bit more conversation with Tanya to just dig in. And then the questions, the polling questions, I'm just going to call it polling. That's not your terminology. I recognize that. Were you able to collaborate? Because some of the questions worded differently, but it's actually getting to the same underlying point as we were when we were doing these multiple iterations of polling for both the public safety levy and the library levies. So was there any collaboration to try to actually say, let's zoom out and what are we asking and what information can we extract from here, even though this question is using different vocabulary, but it's really getting to the answer that we've got from this polling. So to me, that somebody we're on the public safety side, we've seen the library side, 4 commissioners or vice versa this way in terms of that work. So I was comparing, not verbatim juxtaposing the questions, but really just closing my eyes and saying, what is the desired outcome of this question? And then comparing to the results and the questions we've asked in these different surveys. So if you are doing polling, the question I want to ask here delicately is, are we duplicating something that we've already done? Right? So, and then is there an opportunity to pivot, or is this our set? We're doing this, and
I can answer about a third of that question, I think. And I think it's going to take all of us responding honestly to get to the full. Tanya, do you want to
let me start? So the county does several types, and Commissioner Fye, I think what you're lifting up for staff to come back with is a definition of a survey versus a poll. So I'm going to put that as a future work item, just so that we're all grounded in the language that we use. So the county does various polling and or surveys across the county. So the polling that we just conducted was specifically focused on gathering input for the success of a levy. So that was the purpose of the poll exercises you went through. For the library levy, for example, there were surveys conducted of library users. I can't remember how many, but we received robust feedback on library services. That was not a statistically valid poll. It was just whoever scans the QR can complete the survey. We have surveys conducted on projects in LUT. We have many surveys conducted in health and human services that they're required to do so as part of their grant. So there's multiple aspects going on. To date, we do not have a survey, and I'm going to use survey, I'm not going to use poll at this point, but we'll come back with a definition of county-wide service delivery. So that is the objective here with this survey. How it could be used by the board could be for you to understand the sentiments, the feelings, the perspective of community members as we look county-wide. Many jurisdictions actually do surveys. Jurisdictions, I'm focusing on local governments, so cities and counties, on a 1 or 2 or up to 5-year cycle to get that perspective, and then to tie it into their strategic planning process and or budgeting process to really understand where's the community at right now. So I would say they're different, and it can sometimes get very confusing on the language we use and the purpose. On the flip side of that, it can be very confusing to our community of what are you asking me for now when I've completed these other surveys and I've previously told you what I've thought. So there are huge opportunities in the future of how do we tie the multiple data points that we have as a county that are coming in from surveys, polls, or other aspects to help tell the story so that we're not asking multiple times. But that's a future work item. And I know that we've heard that input, not just from individuals, but CBOs, but we've also heard it from ACRE. Like, how do you use the information that the county already has to help inform where we need to go in the future?
If I could just, when I read the DHM material in the background, my first response was like, "Well, didn't we just get this?" So, I understand what you're saying, but then as I went further through it, I really did feel the service element. What parts of our county do you actually utilize? Transportation, all these other things. But from my perspective, when I saw it, I thought, well, it's a good opportunity to test the, how do you feel about Washington County as a whole question that we asked in both of the public safety and the library survey as well. But I did have a very similar response.
So a couple of things that I would just add, and Astrid gets to correct me. No, one is that some of those early questions really are to help us make sure that we are pivoting off of the same point in time when we get the rest of our answers.
Mhm.
So at times when you say, how do you feel about Washington County? If something really bad happened in between our last survey and today, and people's opinion has shifted, it could shift our responses in ways that are unexpected, that would have been different if we had pulled those questions with the levies. The second piece that I would just add is the thing I love about this survey, and us having the survey, is that this is not a quick shot. This is not a one-time thing. This is not a thing that we use in some ways even today. The goal of this is to be able to see who we become with time and whether or not we are changing our story and our narrative to the positive for our community. Hopefully it's going to come back and say we're amazing, but most people don't even know what county governments do. And so our hope is that we can start seeing some strategic actions that we take over time that really change the way people engage with us.
So the values in the longitudinal
Yeah,
nature
it
of the
is.
data.
I believe so. And that's why I love these projects. And it also comes in really handy when we're trying to have discussions about revenues. How are we perceived in general? How are we perceived over time? Are we, when we pass fee packages or when we have conversations about additional dollars, is it changing the way we're being seen and perceived in our community? So for me, this is a long game, not a short game. And that is where it's different than some of these other surveys.
I think what I'd add, particularly on the methods piece, is it's not a needs assessment. It's not a community needs assessment. It's not intended to identify unmet needs in the county, primarily because that scope and scale would need to be quite different than this project. I do think polling is an accurate term, right? I think it is
It
much
is
more
or is not?
is, yeah.
Okay.
I think polling is a bit more accurate of a term than I would say it's a survey, but it is primarily a polling opinion type survey. The methodology is also designed to ensure that there's a statistically valid sample, right? Which would again be different from a needs assessment where we would prioritize particular communities who maybe have been underserved or who are underutilizing services to understand what is getting in the way, what are the barriers that they're experiencing in accessing services. I think part of what I'd also add that Anne has shared and that Tanya has shared is that the intention for the project has always been to be ongoing. So it's currently funded for this year and for next year, but the goal would be for it to continue. Maybe not annually, because how quickly can you change things in a 1 year cycle, but maybe every other year, but that's to be decided. I think the other thing that it offers is that we have not actually asked some of these particular questions to community in anyone's organizational memory. So for example, some of the financial type questions, some of the quality of life type questions, but then also the accessibility of services type questions have not been pulled on. Part of what we also needed to do in the survey, and you'll see this reflected a bit in the survey questions, was to try to cluster our services at a very high level, right? So we won't be able to get particular feedback about individual departments, but we needed to really think about, all right, what are the areas, the broadest areas of work that we do, and how do people, how well do people know about those things, and how do they find them in terms of access, right? So those pieces make it pretty unique from some of the other pieces. There was some work that was done to crosswalk this particular instrument with the other instruments that have been distributed recently, so that there isn't as much duplication, but a little bit of overlap. So it is true there would be a little bit of overlapping data. So we might think about pulling those particular questions that are very overlapping into a smaller sort of snapshot of opinion, right? So we could take some of the library levy data, for example, and this data and see, they asked in essence the same question, and did we see differences in how that was responded to in the time periods in which those individual instruments were administered? Does that speak to your question? I just want to confirm.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And the second part of the last part I'll say, the question I'll ask you, I'm used to the polling side, both from campaigning as an individual to, and then I'm also used to the public safety and the library levy and how we did that. So is the modeling going to be the same? The approach, the method is going to stay the same. So you're likely calling voters, and what elections, obviously this, so I'm not interested in the details. The reason why I'm elevating that is then how do we really get the opinion of community service based organizations and actually a true sample of population that are actually can have an opinion about Washington County services and its accessibility. So how do we justify the results to say that these are actually meaningful? Because if you're reaching out somebody who's retired, who've never utilized county services, but they're a consistent voter, they will fall into that. I always get surveys, opinion polling, text to me, email to me, take this poll, this. So how do we actually, and I'm you all are the experts. So if I'm in the weeds, kick me out of this conversation or this
That's a great
question
question.
track I'm on. But
Could I have a question along with that?
yeah,
I didn't understand that we were using voter rolls for this.
Yeah, there's two
polling,
sources. Two sources. So voter rolls is one of the sources. The other is to use a consumer list, which would get at people who maybe aren't registered voters but do live in the county, right? So they're
Okay.
sourcing potential survey participants from two sources. Yes, voter rolls, as well as from what are called consumer lists in the field, basically marketing lists.
So can you manufacture? Maybe manufacture is not the right word, but can you compile that list so you're a bit more intentional of the opinion? I'm just trying to validate the results and not to micromanage the result here,
That's great.
but I'm just trying to figure out how do we make it worth our money investments we're making because it's big dollars here, and then also the results make it useful to that we're actually hearing from individuals that have actual opinion, not necessarily I don't know, I think it's fine.
Yeah, so part of the conversation with DHM has been about what counts as a valid survey, a complete survey. And so they'll probably likely have many more surveys than actually count as a valid survey. So they would need to have actually completed the instrument all the way through, at least 80% or more. And then if it's all a bunch of like, don't know, do not apply, those are not going to necessarily count towards valid
Oh, okay.
surveys, right? So there'll
You're
be a
going to
bunch
keep
that,
doing your 800.
yes, and
Oh, I
to a
see.
place where
Okay.
it's like, okay, these are actually
Ah.
valid with information.
Okay, so it's not actual 800 and that, okay.
It's
You're gonna
800
keep
valid.
valid. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And
Yeah.
then the other piece,
Go
if
for
I
it.
might,
Yeah,
is
please.
around the outreach efforts, right? So that we know that consumer lists as well as voter rolls are incomplete. They're not going to capture all of the community members who we might want to hear from. That's why there's a community outreach component. To build a little bit on what Anne was sharing earlier, is that those surveys that come through the online system will be tagged as slightly different, right? They're going to have a different tag on them than the ones that have been conducted via the phone, so that we know where was the source of that. And likely the online survey will be more outreach based, right? So it'll be folks who maybe access services, it might be folks who saw us at a community event, right? So that we're getting a group of humans who live in the county who maybe aren't going to be reached in these other ways.
And the really great thing is then you can take these two sets and look at them and how they compare as well. So there's an interesting, at least when I've done these in the past, seeing where they align across those two survey types and where they don't align over those two survey types can actually add a lot to the story as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm done.
Are there other questions?
I have one comment I should probably just make offline, just very. We don't issue passports. We
Good.
should say that.
Yep.
We should, we can talk about passports.
We process
We
them.
don't issue them.
Yes, we process passports. Thank you.
Oh, there's a language change that's needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay. Thank you for that. That's a good catch. Thank you.
And you're looking in the context of this, of the
Actual
question.
surveys.
I just want to point that out to
Sorry.
others.
Yes.
I just assumed you're trying to get to the underlying change that took place.
I think it was honestly just a group of individuals who used the wrong word. So we'll just make the change and we'll gut check this against CLT too before we release
Noted.
it.
Feedback's a gift.
It is a gift.
Yep. Thank you.
Nice catch. Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, moving forward here, we'll catch up at the end, okay? Quarterly report?
Yes. Team, if we can pull the PowerPoint up for quarterly reports, I would appreciate that. So, board, as your board has requested that I produce a quarterly report. So this is your latest quarterly report due to staff workload. I had previously let your board know that there would be approximately a month delay in this report. I'm in charge. I'm just going to sit with my back to the LP. Okay. So within your pack, I know I've never sat in this chair before.
I've seen state legislatures who are committee members and then they want to testify. They get off their chair and then they come in front. First time I saw it, I was shocked. I was like, what is this person doing? Why are they getting off their seat?
So today we will review the quarterly reporting structure, a recap of organizational cross-functional goals. Within your report, there's highlight of focus areas initiatives in 5 primary areas of government. The 5 primary areas of government, as your board is aware, is how we talk and organize our budget, and it also aligns with your strategic plan update. Summarize the department level work plan dashboard and review and seek input on our major organizational work priorities. I will talk a little bit different. I will talk about how that differs from department work plans. And demonstrate and seek feedback on the Invisio dashboard, which is currently under development. And of course, take your questions and feedback. So I'm not going to walk through this. This is just a reminder of the 6 areas that are used as the outline of the quarterly management report. So let's talk briefly about a summary of where we're at. So 71% of the 2024-25 strategic plan update goals is now complete. Most of these goals are on track or achieved, and we're not seeing significant blockages. The focus areas of the goals are IT modernization, community service facing initiatives, and countywide process improvements and accomplishments. Some of our key accomplishments are system upgrades. As the board knows, we're working through ERP or the work group. ERP Workday transition. We are also getting ready to launch our intranet, which is our internal facing website that will mirror the user navigation and ability similar to our community facing website. We exceeded housing targets. You heard Molly Rogers and team just speak to this in their quarterly report. Progresses on language access, staff development, and we continue to strengthen our emergency preparedness. I will just note, and you will not take this by surprise, what are our challenges? Resource constraints, staff capacity, legislative impacts, coordination complexities just within staff and also community due to stress and strain and competing priorities. So some of the roadblocks have been funding cuts that we've experienced in community corrections, both through your adopted budget and also through the unanticipated state legislature, housing, and general operations. We continue to see normal staff turnover. I will note from a recruitment standpoint, the changes at the federal government and also locally in our economy, we've seen a strengthening of our recruitment pools and number of applicants, which is good to see from a pool standpoint because just, I believe this time last year, I was expressing concern on some areas of Washington County, specifically finance expertise and the challenges to find finance staff. We continue to work through regulatory challenges, continued changes through the federal administration and how that works and managing those through the county. So cross-functional goals. One area is communications assessment. More information will be coming to your board this calendar year on our communications assessment. The goal was to evaluate and improve county communications using a One Washington County approach. When we do come back to your board, and I'm going to take you back in time, and I can't recall, Commissioner Snyder, if you were here for the initial set of interviews from the board, but we will be asking the board's feedback on board needs when we come back to you. We initiated this cross-functional work in fall of 2023 with a consulting firm to assess the current setup of how we structure our communications work, review of like organizations, and recommend improvements. Some of the areas that will be coming forward to you is just the effectiveness of our communications and how we work together as a One Washington County team. In fiscal year 24-25, employee engagement was set up as a cross-functional goal through the strategic plan. Department selected team members to participate in an employee engagement work group committee to support this goal. We will be carrying this over into a cross-functional goal called recruit and retain priority, which I'll get into in a moment. So the work group developed the county's first holistic employee engagement survey, establishing objectives, scope, and timeline. We will be launching the first survey in in October of 2025. This is really exciting, and we want it to be purposeful because many of our departments do conduct their own employee engagement survey, and we don't have a way to do one right now as countywide. So Commissioner Fye, this kind of connects with your questions you asked in the previous, like what is the language we use and how do we tie together the information we're already getting from our constituents, both employees and also stakeholders. And also connected to this is our community survey. I am not going to touch on that because you just had a presentation on that work. Within the document in your packet, there are several focus area initiatives that have been brought forward: critical facilities update, our financial audits, MSTIP bonds, and the progress we're making forward with that work, community corrections, law library. I will note for your board and members of the public, due to our staffing constraints within the law library, there is a notice that is placed on the door at this time. If we have to close unexpectedly because of staffing needs, that it is state service and we don't have funds to operate consistently at times. Also within your packet is just update on the juvenile transfer to the Marion County Partnership, which I know many of you were on that tour, and I know others who weren't able to attend are looking forward to a future time to go on that tour. Land use and transportation, in that portion of the update, and includes project timing of MSTIP. So I want to separate, there's the bonds, the financing, and then there's the project timing. And then a fair update, because we are at the end of summer, and celebrating completion of the fair. So last quarter, I had spoke to you about the shift we are making within the county-wide work plan. We received significant feedback from departments just on the workload concerns. So I want to assure your board, departments still have their department work plans. You had a report from Molly Rogers today in housing and their department work plan. That will continue here at Washington County, and we will continue to update your board on work plan progress through, as we do through work sessions, through board meetings, and measure to progress and outcomes. What we are talking about here is what are the major organizational priorities that we will be reporting on, collecting data through a county-wide portal and system. And so that's different than department work plans. So I just want to assure you, work is still occurring at the county. This is just how we are reporting on these areas. We have taken time to make sure that our work is aligned with your priorities, and have landed on 3 priority areas. I want to express our county leadership team is all supportive. So that's department directors, office managers for these 3 shared goals. Number 1, sustainable funding, specifically looking at stabilizing the general fund, improved public safety system, and hire and retain qualified employees. So now I'll dive a bit into where we're at with priority, goal, and strategy. You will see in each of these areas, we are only at this point in time at the outcome and goal level. We have not dove yet into the strategy. That is the process, and we just had a great 1.5 hour meeting yesterday to start that process. So I'm going to just read priority 1. This is clearly connected to a board priority that your board has. Washington County, the outcome that we're striving for is Washington County has stabilized the general fund and ensured resources match current and future county services, enabling the county to be responsive to fiscal uncertainties and fluctuations and to ensure continued stability. Your board is aware that we have an upcoming work session in October. So based on that direction, some of this goal language may shift and our strategies may shift because we are undergoing the revenue work. But these are the 3 goals that we have at this point in time. You will also note we are moving away from annual goals to 3-year goals because in county government, most things don't happen over 1 year, and it will take multiple years to achieve an outcome as listed above. Priority 2, Washington County has improved public safety systems to increase trust, serve our community, increase the sense of safety by strengthening collective responsibility and improving the sustainability of proactive prevention initiatives. So this much of this work is underway. We'll talk more about strategies when we come back to you at a future date. Goal 1 is focused on staffing. Goal 2 is focused on collective responsibility, increased capacity to implement proactive prevention initiatives. I will note that this is also connected to the financial goal that I previously had spoken about. And then goal 3 is facilities. What you'll see once we get to strategy development, just last Tuesday, we talked about the jail capacity study. We know we have courthouse planning underway. Those will be some of the elements that will be in facilities. Then we move to priority 3. This is develop and retain a qualified and diverse workforce. I can 100% with 100% certainty conversations that our county leadership team has had is this is absolutely essential because without our employees we cannot do our work. So goal 1 is focused on improving an internal hiring and selection practices. Goal 2, improve leadership and supervisory capacity in the organization. And 3, support departments to develop and grow their staff. So more to come on what strategies, but those are just the broad goals at this time. Any questions on the goals or priorities?
Well, I appreciate the sort of reframing things in 3-year chunks of time. That makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
It feels progressive.
And aligned with the board's goals.
Mm-hmm. And sitting here, I'm so glad my colleagues just knew what slide we were on and joined. So
They were
Marty and
stealth
Liza,
about
well, yep, they were stealth. We had a plan.
We were stealth, yeah. Thank you, Tanya. Good morning still.
barely.
Barely.
Talk fast.
Marty Kyle, I'm one of the assistant county administrators, and really FISA's going to work through a demonstration, but I just wanted to let you know that we had a small team think about the metrics that we had used in the past year and that dashboard that you may or may not have had a chance to dive into. It was sometimes like overwhelming and confusing. And so we put together a team. We called ourselves the Skunk Team. Really some fun little different pictures, acronyms. Yeah. But our goal was we decided that the real audience for this dashboard that FISA is going to show you is the board. But because it's the board, it also means that it will be a public dashboard. But that's why we wanted to do a quick demo of this today to get your feedback about whether this dashboard looks like it would be something that would be useful for your board moving into this new organizational priorities. So some of the data below the goals is made up, but it's just so that you can see. So I'm going to let Faiza now demonstrate this.
Thank you. On your slide, there's a picture of the board, and I believe I can go to the link, right, Tanya? Kevin, will you be helping to go to that link?
Click on it.
Ooh, we will find out and try as we will here.
Okay, I'm not sure.
No, I think Mark will have
Yeah.
to help you.
Yep, Mark's working on it.
Okay.
I'm
I'll wait.
seeing the head nod and
The dashboard draft at the top. While we're getting there, just wanted to let you know that we did learn. I was thinking this as I was listening to Tanya talking, and it reminded me of how Tanya phrases everything about us as being a learning organization and moving forward. And this is a really great example of us demonstrating how we are a learning organization. We spent last year doing the departmental work plans and reporting to you in those very granular tabular reports that were sometimes text heavy. And a lot of key detailed metrics were reported on that. And one of our learning through that is this new iteration of a working draft of a dashboard. Which you're seeing here, which is showing the 3 priorities Tanya just mentioned. And as you can see, the dashboard has similarities to the report. You saw the status of our goals from the work plan. It will show similarly the status of our work on this dashboard. This is the main page, and it shows those 3 priorities. And you can click on any one of the links to go to the next page. And here, as Marnie had mentioned, this is some fake data for your to give you some idea as to what the updates would look like. The top of the page shows you the financial outcome statement that we have created. And as we work towards that goal, you will see quarterly updates in the place where it says example of the updates. And then below on that page, there are some individual goals. We have 3 goals under this outcome statement that we have established. And clicking on them will lead to more granular updates on related to those goals. For example, here we have a goal which says by June 2028, identify new revenue generating sources. And your board has already heard some progress towards that goal earlier in the month. And this is an example of those progress here listed. This is still a working draft. We are still fine tuning our strategies and the metrics that we will collect data to report on these goals.
So is that where, like the page you're on now, is that where you might have details on specific tactics or no?
Yes.
Would it get to that level?
So we have outcome. This is how our organizational priorities are structured. We have the umbrella outcome statement for each priority. Then we have goals that are established under each priority. And then we have strategies and metrics that come under that.
we will have strategies and metrics. We don't
Yes.
have them yet. So that's what I.
Is a strategy the same as a tactic in this like, is that, like, are you using those interchangeably, or would a tactic be even below the strategy?
So why don't at the next quarterly report, we will come back with more information on our development and we will do the clear definition. What we're also trying to be thoughtful about is creating the words, glossary of the words that we use and how we're defining them. Because when you start developing tracking of goals, there are many different words that people use, and then we get crossways with words.
And I don't even care which words are used. To me, whatever the unit of this is the thing we're doing, the specific thing, call it a tactic, call it whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm just, the question I'm trying to ask is, will this get to that level
Yes,
of detail?
yes, it will.
Regardless of the word used.
And we're,
And the reason I'm just lifting that up, we just had a really great internal meeting yesterday where we had a shared commitment of defining those words so that we not only start to use that in this space, but start create more consistency throughout departments when we're reporting back to you or sharing information with the community in general. So that's something I'm really excited about, and want to highlight not only Fiza Noor in this work, Aster, thank you, Pitcher, which you just heard earlier, Eva Hawes, who's in Health and Human Services, and Julie Craze in the CAO department, who's all making this possible.
so where will this reside?
So this will be available publicly. We can launch it as a public link on our website eventually when it's ready. Right now, it's, as you see, I had the examples and the working draft just to make sure it's
Draft,
a
I-
total draft. But we anticipate that we will have a completed draft, not ready for public launch by January, once we have established the metrics all the way at that tier level that Commissioner Snyder was talking about.
But the end goal is to have it be a public facing document.
If it, as
That's-
soon, yes,
Just wanted to make sure.
But
that
in
was clear.
January, it'll be a link that you all receive. So you all will receive a link in January is the goal. January is the goal. So you would be able to see it, but we wanted to launch it first with just internal and with you, and then hopefully by Q3. And I think timeline is coming up pretty in another
Yeah.
slide or two. But so yes,
If
it will
there's
be.
if there's no more questions on the dashboard, we can pull up the next slide, the timeline. Because that
is there any feedback on the dashboard?
I'm excited to use it.
Yeah, I asked my one, but
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that
Yep.
the specific details that we can.
Data points.
Yep.
Navigatable. I'm Looking through over the weekend. And I'm glad the question was asked about how we're gonna, the question I have is about, as a commissioner, how would I know, like, or be alerted to go check that link when there are changes? Will we get, I don't know if I'm asking extra work, Anya, but will we get a monthly updates to say, we've updated some new information. Hey, Commissioner, go check the link out.
so that's a great segue into this slide, the timeline.
Okay.
So the updates, the goal that we have is the updates would be done when the quarterly report would be done. So we would be reporting on these to you and the
Quarter.
public quarterly.
Okay.
Some of the strategies, actions, we know that work happens within a quarter, but the actual reporting, staff making sure the dashboard would be updated, would be on a quarterly basis. And you'll see here in 2025, there's far more many bullet points in Q1, and that is because we're in essence building the practice, we're building the system right now, and then we will start with these new measurements, and you'll see them reflected in the January quarterly update. We'll just start to measure them in October.
So down the road, if we're all paying attention here, you may not have to do quarterly updates. Just saying.
You could have a calendar reminder to get
Yeah.
materials.
Well done, thank you.
Any questions?
We asked our
I was gonna
questions
say, I
along the way.
covered I covered mine while we were going through it.
How about you, Mr. Willie?
Well, I think this was good insight, good information. I'm wondering how priority one is to stabilize the general fund, which should be the precursor to being able to accomplish priority two and priority three. but it seems like they are in a timeline overlapped. So priority one by the end of June 28. Priority two is June 28, and priority three is July 27. And moving forward, I'm just saying we got to have the money before we can do priority two and priority three, isn't there?
Planning in 2 and 3 that can be done now may not be fully realized until 1 is done.
I just thought we were going to get to priority one before June of 28.
Oh,
We were really careful on the language. We are saying by the end. It doesn't, that doesn't, so what
Earlier?
Commissioner, yeah, it could be earlier. So Commissioner Willie is referring to page 8 of the slide deck. We don't need to pull it up. Oh, see, I forget I have the ticker. I'm not used to this role. So goal 1, that just means by the end, that is, we have to do something. It could absolutely and hopefully occur before that.
Yeah, I guess at the course of our last 5 budget sessions and the fact that we've already cut nearly $100 million out of our general fund spending, I just wonder what we look like if we don't have some answers before this time.
So, Commissioner, in response to that, we know this is a priority of the board. And what I hear you saying is that you're looking forward to seeing what are the strategies that we come back with at the next quarterly report. And you will learn more about those at the October work session too. So, what I'm hearing is this is support, and yet you want to see more of the detail. What are the strategies to
Well, you're
execute?
concerned about the
Yep.
timing.
Yep.
Well, the timing and the fact that we, I don't know, what was it, a month ago or so when we got a snapshot of revenue options
Mhm.
coming attraction, so to speak. So I thought that actually this would accelerate this particular process. Again, I'm concerned that we can't have 2 or 3 more budget cycles of budget cuts.
So this is incoming attractions, your October work session, where we're going to be diving deeper into that with Marina.
Okay.
And maybe the timing of some of these might be revised based
Correct,
on.
based on your input.
Okay.
And that's something internally we as staff have talked about. Things change. And so this will be an iterative process. So even though we say these are 3-year goals, they can change over time as we get input and direction from your board and or conditions change too.
That 3-year link just made. Okay. So that's partly why this is framed by 2028. Carrie, are you catching that?
No.
So earlier in the presentation, there was a description of the shift to sort of 3-year goal time horizons because it takes some of the bigger picture things take longer. That's where this 2028 thing is coming from, not because that's when Tanya's aspirational goal is to have some plan in place for that.
Okay.
Are you wanting 2026 or by December?
I want it sooner than later, but I didn't,
By December.
So this is a 3-year work plan. I would ask that let's go through the October work session and then let staff develop the strategies and we can continue this conversation.
To be continuing this conversation as well, but I did have a bit of a not a barrier, but sort of questions about the second priority in regards to, public safety system isn't delivered just by Washington County as a 5 elected board of commissioners here. We've got the DA who is individually elected, and then as well as the sheriff. So I'll just ask this way and say, how are these goals vetted by the 2 other elected individuals? And is this not blessed, but there's a buy-in support because we're getting into prevention initiatives and there could be multiple opinions and So I think I would want to make sure that their buy-in is also.
So
It's a philosophical question. It's a good.
So the yes, here, we know that we have an elected DA and we have an elected sheriff. We also know from a staff level, that we can't accomplish our work unless we are working together as one Washington County team. To even lift that up, the team leads of this priority area are Aaron Calvert and John Cook, who's the undersheriff, the sheriff's office. This really highlights the continuation of the public safety and justice paper, the work we need to do collectively together. We
That was
cannot
established together.
we cannot accomplish a public safety system without the DA, without the sheriff, without the courts too. So this area is all of the areas are partnership. This one definitely is. So yes, we are working together, Commissioner.
And then the other backup question I had about these priorities was, you say it should be aligned and it's aligned with the board's priorities. I couldn't pinpoint, try to do my homework here. So I think this, to be fair, this is the first conversation we're having about these three priorities in reacting to it.
So we took these
Goals.
priorities from the board's focus area list that you've reviewed in the work sessions. This
And
by
it is-
no means, this by no means recognizes all the priorities. What we're trying to do is saying we are going to start small and we're choosing three. We know there's many more priorities across the county work of department work plans that are not reflected here. Completely recognize this. These are the three priorities that we are going to choose at this point in time to report on, measure on. We can increase this in time.
And when you say we, you're saying
Staff,
the
staff,
staff is
yep,
recommending
yep,
prioritize
because
these three.
These three,
And then in
because
October.
to report on. And this is purely from internal capacity. We took a big bite out of the apple and tried, we had 120, 160 work plan, 127 goals last year. It was too much for staff to get the work done and report on. So what we're doing is saying, let's start smaller and create a better system of reporting from staff, learn from this, and then we can absolutely look at opportunities to expand. But let's start smaller because it was too much last year.
So is this, I can take
Yeah,
it all.
okay.
I'd say that these priorities though also have long tendrils that go into so many different areas, but those are reasonable questions. Thank you. Ready to move on? Let's move on to our last topic before Jason and I get to speak. And that is on the state of the county.
Did
And hopefully we can wrap that.
you ask her if she wanted to come up? And she said she didn't know. So you got this, Philip.
Thank you, Board. Yes, we're here to actually hear from you all about the video concept that we were talking about in general, anything, of course, but the segments that we were hoping to.
Could you pull up the
recording.
list again? Do you have that available?
I think we can get there with the.
On the 14th, I think it was on the 14th.
Yeah, so let's give staff time to pull that up because
Okay.
they're gonna, we
was
don't
just
have it
thinking it
in
might
the
be helpful.
queue, ready right now. So, this is just a follow-up from your roundtable discussion just last Thursday. And identifying the two, correct? Two areas to focus on a video that you as a group would like to bring forward, individually.
Who would like to go first?
I'll just quickly say that I am flexible and can probably be helpful and participate in any ones that are necessary. I would say things that I think might be a good fit for me would be Tiger housing stuff for one, And then the second one I was maybe a little less sure about, but I like Scoggins Valley Park, so I was going to offer to help with that. But I'm really open to maybe Commissioner Willie wants to do that. I can be flexible. I do like the concept in general of what we're talking about doing. I think that was your other question.
Here's your list.
Oh, thank you. Jerry, what about you?
Well, I think Hag Lake was, and it would probably be a little bit more inclusive than just the lake, as you said, identified what we have on our work plan to put an RV park out there, and so a little bigger picture than that. And I really didn't. Pam and I were joking about the road to Timber. Well, what do you say about the road to Timber? Well, it slid into the gully, and we rebuilt it, and now it's back good again. So, but stay tuned. It'll.
You just
happen
recorded it, right?
But the visuals would be so cool.
Yeah, we got some pictures, I'm sure, that we can get from.
Film you up there.
But yeah, so I'm flexible too on this stuff.
So Hag Lake and the other-
So I guess what I'm confused about is we have 4 2-minute time slots.
Okay.
And in that 2 minutes, you want us to talk about 2 things?
No, we're going to work with you.
We're going to curate
Yeah,
it further.
Yeah.
You'll
I
end
just want a
up-
little
I just want
direction.
what our areas
You're
of
going.
focus were.
We'll end up with one, right?
Okay. Okay.
And I just nudged Commissioner Fye. She talked about her choices earlier, so I was going to go around the three of us, and then
Yep,
we'll come
yeah.
back and
I think
reconvene there. But
I think then-
I'd like the CAT and Hawthorne Walk-In Center. But and now, Nafisa, do you want to, Commissioner Fye,
Mhm.
do you want to reiterate what you talked about in your update?
WIC and transportation and transit.
Put some definition to transportation. Are you
Facility,
okay?
Talking about transit, is that right?
transportation and transit facility. So it could be a Farmington Road, could be TV Highway.
Okay. Yeah, because I thought I heard you say Farmington before, so that's where I was focused, but I was now trying to connect those two.
I didn't say Farmington before.
Thought you had mentioned Farmington because I had Farmington in my head. So.
Oh,
But specifically facility related.
Yeah.
Transit or transportation facility.
that's what Farmington Road is, facility, right? Transportation and transit. So
Mhm.
we'll focus.
Are you
Just
comfortable?
making sure I have
We
my
don't know what the chair would like to do, but she's acting more as the MC, is that correct?
She'll have a bigger role of managing the whole thing, right?
So
I don't think she'll have a video.
She didn't have to pick two.
No.
That's what I was,
No, she's doing all.
yeah, that's what I was just trying to make sure. Okay. So are we done?
Yeah. Thank you
Wow.
very much.
That was it. There you go. Okay.
Based on what Jerry said, I think I just want to speak on the road to Timber.
And I've already given you your talking.
Yeah. The whole script is done.
With a name like Timber, we'll have a red and black track shirt.
Yeah, I was just thinking, what are you gonna wear? I was literally just thinking, what are you gonna wear?
All righty. So let's go back. Jason, how about you for your update?
I can be very brief. I had a one-on-one with CWS CEO yesterday. Tomorrow there's a WEA board meeting that I'll be at. Thursday I'm meeting with constituents about some concerns with continued discussions around sustainability and climate action. I plan to be at the Hillsborough Readiness Center groundbreaking, hopefully. And then there's I'm having a Five Oaks Museum briefing, I think with one other commissioner on later in the week as well. And then Saturday in Tigard, there is a legislative town hall with both the state reps and senator for that area. And so that I believe is at the Tigard Public Library at 10 a.m. Just putting that out publicly. I plan to attend that. Next week on Monday, I have a meeting with a constituent who says that they've had concerns in the past that Commissioner Rogers has always helped them solve. And so now they've contacted me.
They've set the bar high.
There you
So we'll see. I already gave Stephen Roberts a heads up because I think I have an idea of what the topic is about, and we'll work through that as well. That's all I got.
Are you gonna require that the Roy Rogers Road now be the Snyder Highway or something?
Maybe in 50 years.
Thank you. So I have a few things. I did attend the Clean Water Leaders Cohort #4 graduation, and that's about leadership works, and it was really good. I would encourage you, if you have the opportunity to attend one of those graduations, do so. I attended the Beaverton Chamber of Commerce ribbon cutting to celebrate True Hilton. Commissioner Pye talked about that. It was a really good opportunity. I will point out that she did have a horchata Kona ice, and back to the sweet thing, yes. And and then I'm just
Thank
So-
you, Commissioner
just like-
O'Malley. Go,
and then
first time,
I did
5 years.
Wow.
Thank you, I'll take it.
I did have a call with Larry Brisby from the Union Gospel Mission. He's a board member there. They are opening a project for the Women's Life Change Center, and I drove by it over the weekend. It's quite a big center on 185th and Rock Creek Road there. They're having an opening. I'm talking with our housing department about our engagement level there, and what's appropriate. So upcoming on Thursday, I'll be hopefully at the Readiness Center groundbreaking ceremony, and I will be attending. Saturday is the West Slope reopening celebration, and I'm looking forward to that.
Cool.
The last thing I think we have is to review the updated version of the TriMet TV Highway letter. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you? Is
Ah,
there-
yes, yeah, go ahead, ask Tanya can explain it better.
Stephen
Roberts.
I think
I'm
I could.
calling a friend to come up to the table. So this is a discussion that your board had on TV Highway and the appointment to the next iteration of the subcommittee. Stephen has some updates that we just need thumbs up on so that we can get the letter submitted.
Thank you, Stephen Roberts, Director of Land Use and Transportation, and I might look to my friend as well. Yeah,
Phone a
Okay.
friend.
Well,
provide
yeah,
the update.
I'll be glad to jump in. So obviously we made a decision last week that would be, I would be the primary, Pam would be the alternate. I subsequently had conversation with the chair to say, I think actually all four of us, by the way, have a piece of TV Highway in that segment. So it's kind of interesting, but I was recommending that Jason be the alternate to this, and instead of Pam, so it would be me primary and Jason alternate. And if we're all in agreement with that, Stephen needs to modify the letter that he'd given to Tanya to sign. So we okay with this? Okay with this?
I prefer me be the primary,
I know.
so I'll stand by my decision.
Okay. You okay with this, Jason?
I am.
Okay.
I understand the big picture of this.
I
Okay.
think it's good that we just resolved it here. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Stephen.
course.
And
Thank you.
thank you.
There's-
I feel like
There's no other letters.
I feel like we're like ready for recess. You know.
Yeah.
So
If you adjourn us, yeah.
Yes,
you
we
can
are.
keep us here.
So
uh-oh.
just follow up on the Readiness Center. I've asked Maida to get us an agenda because I haven't seen one yet. So timing of things and everything else. So I'll make sure she includes all of us on that information.
Thank you.
She can reach out and get that.
Thank you. I think we are adjourned.
We are adjourned.
Yay.